up guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm gonna talk to you about returning to the UK from abroad or from an amber list country in particular. I've just landed in London a couple of hours ago. I flew to London Heathrow from Berlin, and Germany currently is on the UK's amber list. So I want to talk you through the whole process of returning to the UK, which turned out to be a lot more complicated than I expected. I wanted to start the video in Germany, but yesterday I went to bed at like stupid o'clock, so this morning I was really not in a good place for talking, and I also didn't have that much time before I had to go out to the airport, so I'm filming it now. First things first, currently, in case you don't know, UK has 3 categories of countries. So there's a green list, there's an amber list, and there's a red list. Generally, the green list countries, it's like I think around 15 countries currently on that list. The green list countries are the countries that if you visit them you won't have to quarantine after. You're only gonna need 1 PCR test when you return, an antigen test before you board. Once you're in the UK you only need to do 1 PCR test and you don't have self-isolation. Amber list, which I feel like is most of the countries right now, you need to get a test before you get on the plane. You need to show the negative results at the airport before you board, and the test must be taken within 48 or 72 hours. I'm not sure. So you do 1 antigen test before you board. Then when you return to the UK, you self-isolate for 10 days. The day you arrive, which for me is today, is day 0, so that doesn't count towards the 10 days, so they start tomorrow. You have to do 2 PCR tests, which are day 2 and day 8. The green list only have the day 2 PCR test. The amber list has day 2 and day 8. If your day 2, it's super complicated, but if your day 2 PCR test is positive, you won't have to do the day 8, but if it's negative, you're still gonna have to do the day 8 PCR test. If you want to finish your quarantine early, you can do another 3rd PCR test on day 5. However, here's where logic leaves the room. So if you do day 2 and then if you do day 5 because you want to end your quarantine early, you still have to do day 8. But if you don't do day 5 and you just do day 2 and day 8 doesn't remove the last 2 days of quarantine. I mean, provided that the tests are negative, of course. So even if your day 2 and day 8 PCR tests are negative, you still have to finish your self-isolation, so you're still gonna have to do 2 more days. And if you do day 5, which is the optional one, you're gonna be released from quarantine, but you still have to do day 8. So to me that makes no sense. So if I can be released with day 5, why can I be released with day 8? It's still 2 PCR tests. I don't understand, and you cannot use NHS for any of those tests. They all need to be booked through a private provider, and they're pretty expensive, as you can imagine. I managed to find a couple of options which were around £100, and this was the cheapest I could find. There was one for £90, but I couldn't book. They were fully booked. I managed to get a package for £100, which is still pretty good. Most places that I saw were between £160 and £200, and that is super expensive, and that's only day 2 and day 8. That's without day 5. Day 5 is separate, so that's even more money. Returning to the UK currently is pretty expensive. I think for red list countries you have to self-isolate in a hotel. You can't go anywhere even if you live here. When you return, you also need to fill in a passenger locator form, which at this point is pretty standard for the amber list countries and probably the red list countries. When you do your passenger locator form, you have to provide them with the booking reference for the PCR test, the day 2, day 8 PCR test. So if you think you can just come and not do them, no, you cannot, because they literally ask you to pay for them before you even fly to the UK. Try to book these tests in advance, not last minute, because if the labs are at max capacity, you might not be able to get them in time, and you do have to have them. Anyway, we got through that. I need to self-isolate now for at least 5 days. I still don't know if I'm gonna do the early release or not, but that's not important. I'm gonna leave some links in the description. Make sure you do your own research, because these things change all the time. I guess now I can show you the actual journey, because I filmed throughout the journey, and I'm gonna talk you through everything that went on at the airport. I was flying from Berlin's new Brandenburg airport, and this airport is connected to the old Schönefeld airport, so it's very well connected, it's very easy to get there. The new airport is absolutely stunning, it's very spacious, and it was very pleasant to be there. As soon as I got there, I made my way to the check-in desk. I had a big luggage to check in. This time it was very easy because there wasn't anybody at the queue. At the check-in desk, they also checked all of my documents, my passport, COVID test, all of that. So I got through check-in. By the way, I'm in the bathroom, that's why I don't have a mask on. I'm in my own little stall. I got through check-in and the guy at the desk was so weird. I think while I was here in Germany stopped allowing UK people to come in here. You can only come to Germany if you have like a German passport or you are a resident or whatever. But I came here before they introduced that regulation. So anyway, I go to the check-in desk. I have my negative test, a passenger locator form, a booking reference for the PCRs that I need to take when I go home. I show them everything. And the guy's like, so do you live in London? And I say yes. And he's like, uh-huh. And then after a while, because this whole conversation happens while he's also like checking my passport and stuff. So after a while, he's like, do you have like a resident card? And I was like, no, because I don't think that's a thing in the UK. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't anything like a resident card that you take with you in the UK that proves that you live somewhere. Usually a proof of address is like a bank letter or your bill for electricity or something, but obviously I don't carry that with me. So I was like, no. And he was like, And then he kept doing his thing. And then he's like, so do you have a British passport? And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, so this is the only passport you have, showing my Bulgarian passport. And I was like, yes. And he's like, interesting. And he was so snarky. He had a whole attitude and I don't understand why. Obviously I have my settlement status letter somewhere in my emails. If he was going to make more of a problem out of this, I would have dug it out, but it was fine. Maybe he thought that I live here and I'm just trying to go to the UK, I don't know. Anyway, after he checked all my documents, he gave me a boarding pass and he also gave me this little note. And he said that I should give this at security, boarding, I don't know, somewhere. And this basically says that they've checked my tests and they've checked my documents and it's all fine. Generally, I get that he's just trying to do his job and that's fine. Just don't give me that attitude, you know? It doesn't help anyone. Anyway, ranting over, I'm going to security now. Going through security was really easy. Again, there was no queue, so I got through very quickly. Once I passed through security, I had a little walk around the terminal. Everything that I saw seemed to be open. The duty-free shop was very well stocked and it was open. Also some small cafes, other random shops here and there. Everything seemed open, so I don't think there are any issues with that. You can buy food, you can grab coffee, you can do whatever you want. I headed to my gate and it turned out that there's this whole new passport check that you need to go through to get to the UK, and I assume that's because the UK is no longer in the EU. Once you get through that second passport check, you enter a whole different section of the airport and you can't go back. And this section of the airport has its own duty free and it's just a bit weird. I'm not used to that. Once I got to this other section of the airport, I just had a little walk around and it was so empty. I think apart from our flight, there was only one other flight that was going out of the EU. Overall, the entire airport wasn't very busy. Hey, so I got through security, no issues there. People were super nice. Just realized that there's a whole new passport check for people going to the UK because we're not in the EU anymore. I guess welcome to post-Brexit world, right? I made it to my gate, but I'm just super early because there's nothing to do, so I'm just chilling. While we were waiting around at the gate, there were two members of staff who were going around and they were checking everybody's documents and the little notes that we got during check-in. We were boarding in groups again, however this time we were using an air bridge rather than one of those buses that they stuff everybody in. So I really appreciated that. It was a lot more pleasant, and at the entrance of the airplane the staff were giving out little antibacterial wipes again. So once I got to my seat, I of course wiped the handles and the little tray in front of me. I think more than half of the plane was empty, so I had the whole row to myself again and I had a window seat. I'm gonna leave some footage of taking off and flying because I think it's the most beautiful thing ever. Apologies if you don't care for that, you can just skip through it to the end. after we landed in London and we got off the plane, we went to the passport check and there were two queues. In one of the lines you get a real person checking your documents, and then the other line was for the electronic passports, and I got to that one because it was much quicker. So I just scanned my passport and that was it. I didn't talk to anyone. No one asked me for a COVID test or a passenger locator form, although to be fair they did ask me for those documents at the German border but not at the UK one. Maybe if you line up at the other line where real people check your passport, they might ask you for those things again. I'm not sure. I just had to go grab my luggage and I was ready to go. I got on the tube and it took me about an hour and a half to get home again, but I got there eventually. And we're back here. That was my trip. So sorry, I'm brain dead. I'm so tired, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. Make sure to like this video and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.
Baby, can you stop hesitating?